Joining me today is Tre Ford, a two-sport athlete all the way up to the draft. Trey is a once-in-a-generation type quarterback and was able to recently run a 4.45 40-yard dash. He is awaiting the CFL and NFL draft to see if his name is called in either of them. Although, following his performance, he has been mentioned in the same breath as guys like Mike Vick, Randall Cunningham, Lamar Jackson, and several other mobile quarterbacks who've been very successful in the NFL, and analysts have taken notice. He has suddenly cemented his draft status as an NFL caliber prospect, and moving forward will be looking to land with the team in 2022. How's it going, Trey? Thanks for joining me today.
No problem. How are you?
Super happy to have you on and super excited to talk to you today. So you said you were on the road recently and you just traveled to Montreal. You're working out with, who was it again?
The QB movement. They have an Instagram thing. I'll sort of locale,
Very nice. So you're getting prepared for the draft. So you're up in Canada, actually?
Yeah, I'm in Waterloo right now, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. How you feeling? I mean, like, how's the draft process going? How's the workouts going? Obviously, it sounds like you're rocketing up draft boards as we speak, so that's always nice.
Yeah, 100%. It's been going pretty well. Doing a lot less weight room now, though. Like, stopped kind of doing a ton of weight room stuff, like 2 weeks out from the combine. Focused more on running and throwing and just football in general, which, I mean, worked out really well for me. I definitely recommend doing that way. You don't want to be doing heavy lifts or anything the day before you get ready to go to the combine. So you have to know, like, when to tune it up and when to tune it down, but I think I've done a pretty good job of that so far, and just getting excited for the national combine coming up this week.
Absolutely. So obviously, as you mentioned, you went to college with Waterloo. A lot of people have never even heard of the school, but you've kind of put them on the map recently with your performance in the national combines and workouts for Canada, and lately they're getting a lot more press out of it. How do you feel about being able to represent your school in that manner so far? I mean, and what are your goals moving forward with everything that's going on with you?
Yeah, so it's definitely super nice to represent Waterloo. I mean, over my whole career, they've been a great school. I mean, me and my twin brother definitely helped them turn around their program. It's a whole new culture there. I mean, even the facilities now with the new indoor field we have built, it's been pretty amazing to use that and have access to that. I know a lot of CFL teams are really impressed with it. And yeah, I mean, it's also good too to represent Canada and Waterloo and OUAU sports in general at the Pro Day at Buffalo, and just giving those looks from the NFL back to here to show them that Canadians can play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's doubting that at this point. I mean, if you look across the NFL, there's a ton of Canadian nationals now that are out there playing, and they're tearing it up, and they're doing great. I mean, Eli Anoku with the Bills, he's first name that comes to mind. I'm sure there's a couple others that I'm just blanking off the top of my head, but they're definitely making a difference in the NFL at this point. And I definitely expect you to be one of the next on that list. But getting into your background and how you got into football, what inspired you to begin playing, and what age did you and your brothers begin playing?
Yeah, so the person who definitely got me involved with football and super passionate about it is my dad. He was really big on football. Got us started super early. Started when we were 6. We were supposed to be 7 to actually be in the league, but so we were allowed to have 13 guys on the field. Me and my brother were safeties. We weren't very good. We were really, really small at that point. But just being around football, developing the love for the game was a really big part of that. And then obviously we started to pick it up more once we were about 8.
Absolutely. Makes sense. So as you mentioned, you were a big part of your reason for getting into football was your father, which I found out was actually your coach at one point, correct?
Yeah, he coached us all the way up through high school, actually.
Oh, really? Well, that was going to be my next question. How did your upbringing with him as a coach lead you on the path that brought you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a great role model when it comes to football. I mean, he loves football. He might even love it more than me, and I really love football. But he calls me to this day every day. Oh, you got any football news? Any football news? But he was a guy that was really able to push me and Tyrell just to play football every single day. I mean, he would go out there and practice with us, which was really motivational to see that he wasn't just saying, "Oh, go play by yourself, go get better." He was out there taking us through the drills and showing us the ropes. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that it's, football is kind of a family affair in your guys's
yeah,
your
100%.
guys' household. That's awesome. So I wanted to preface this by saying I grew up very close to my brother. He's one of my best friends to this day. And while I often say, as I said, he's one of my best friends, we were in constant competition. It's just a brother thing, I mean, as you know, you've got several brothers. As children, even down to little league football, we were always trying to compete to see who was going to have the better team, the better stats or whatever. Walk me through how having a brother that was also playing at a high level pushed you to be who you are today, and also kind of challenged you because he's a defensive player, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely super interesting. We have been competitive in football, but I really felt the competition outside of that, in whether it was track or basketball or whatever it is. But football was a tough one just because we do play different positions. Obviously, with me being a quarterback, him being a DB, but it doesn't mean there wasn't any competition. I mean, when we're running routes out there, we're doing one-on-ones, or even if we're doing full skelly and I'm going to his side, obviously there's a little bit of chirping and bittering going back and forth, but it really just helps pick up the intensity of practice and everything, which is fantastic. It's just hard to really compare a QB to a DB and all those kind of things. But I mean, when it comes to the combine stuff, we were always battling it out. He had a better day than me at the Buffalo Pro Day. He beat me by a little bit on everything. But I mean, we go back and forth and all those things all the time. So happy he performed as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can only imagine it's probably amazing to see you, performing as well as you are, and your brother as well for your father. I mean, this has got to be a dream come true for him and for your family that you guys are tearing it up, at this level, and you're getting a chance to, probably play professional level at a very high level, professional football at a high level, excuse me. I read another interview you did, and I was somewhat shocked to find out that you had actually been thrust into the quarterback role, kind of a last-minute type deal due to an injury. It was actually your brother that got hurt and cleared the way for you, correct?
Yeah, one of my older brothers. It wasn't my twin brother, yeah, at the time. But yeah, I mean, I was a little bit older at that point. I think I was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and he was the quarterback, and we didn't really have anybody else to put in. And I went in, and I mean, at that age, 8 or 9, you're not doing a ton. It's not like you're hucking balls down the field. But I was pretty good with the fundamentals. I could do my handoffs. I could pitch the ball. I could run around a little bit too. So
Definitely, definitely. Was there any pressure at that age to kind of earn your respect from your teammates, being that you were so young?
yeah, not really. I mean, I think a lot of kids too, younger kids, always, oh, I want to be the quarterback. I want to be the quarterback. So I think it was more excitement going in at that age. I didn't really consider all like other factors, like, oh, what if I don't succeed? I mean, I was 8 years old out there. I was just running around trying to have fun. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I remember at that age, you don't really have necessarily the mindset of I want to be a starter or I want to be a star. You're just enjoying what you're living through and playing the game and making connections with your teammates and all that fun stuff.
yeah.
In my mind, being a quarterback and being a leader kind of go hand in hand. You drive the offense, you call the plays, you lead the huddle, and next to the offensive coordinator and the head coach, you probably have the third most control of what happens on a given play. How do you approach this role as a locker room leader? And are you a man of few words that leads by example, or are you a vocal leader?
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of lead in many different ways. The big thing I really try to focus on though is just being positive. I feel like if you're a positive guy, you're trying to uplift everybody. You just have obviously a positive attitude, a good mentality. Then it really affects the people around you to pick up their game, and obviously you just want to execute at a high level. And I'm a big guy too. I like to joke around all the time, but there's obviously certain times to do that. I feel like the locker room is more where you can joke. You can joke a little bit on the field, but I feel like there is times where you have to be more serious, step in and let guys know, like, today we have to work, like it's time to go. So I feel like being able to balance both of those is a really big part of being a really good leader.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it's one thing to say something, but it's definitely another to back it up on the field. So I definitely am sure that helps. After you were thrust in the lineup, you actually wound up finding your home at quarterback despite your elite level speed and athleticism. Once you settled in, you were able to lead your team to 3 straight championships. Confidence in your abilities is arguably one of the most important traits a QB can have. Walk me through how this stretch of success built your confidence to succeed as a high-level quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, success helps in building confidence over time. When you're doing something and you're good at it, I mean, obviously, it's something I want to do more and try to perfect over and over again and do the best that you can always do. But I think you also have to remember that no quarterback is ever going to be perfect in whatever they're doing. There's always going to be room for improvement. So you just want to stay in that hungry mentality, that hungry mindset that you can always do better. You can always learn more. I feel like that's a really big part of building confidence.
Absolutely. So coming off your senior season in college, what do you feel you can improve most upon?
Yeah, so one thing I really wanted to work on was just more pocket presence and spending more time in the pocket because I am more of a mobile guy. When, sometimes you can see, oh, I got 5 yards here, I can just take it versus sitting in the pocket. Oh, maybe you hit that 12-yard incoming later. So it's just kind of developing and being more comfortable in the pocket over time.
Absolutely. I think that's something that everybody who has the kind of athletic gifts that you have that plays quarterback struggles with. I think we've heard it, about any big name quarterback that is as athletic as you are. I mean, they all have to learn eventually to settle down in the pocket and kind of learn to use their arm more than their feet at
I
times.
think it's something that you just learn over time. I mean, like Russell Wilson, for example, he was a guy who used to run a lot more, and now he's getting a little bit older. He's great leader, great mindset, really smart guy, and I feel like now you can really see him as a quarterback. Like, doesn't really run that much. I think he's a top tier passer in the league, and I mean, he's been a really big role model for me.
Absolutely. You actually prefaced me in one of my later questions. What have you taken from Russell Wilson's game, and what do you make of his trade to Denver?
Yeah, so what I take away from his game, I mean, I really tried to develop it a lot more in the last 2 or 3 years was just the touch he has on his deep ball. I feel like that is like what's better than a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL. I feel like that's really next level of him. And then that's also great for being quarterback. But the best thing about him, I think, is just his leadership. Like, I just think he's a phenomenal leader. And I feel like that's why he's had so much success in where he is. And I mean, now that he's going to Denver, I still think he's going to have success. I wish nothing but the best for him. And I mean, go Russell Wilson. So he's my favorite quarterback.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm actually from Denver. I'm actually coming to you from Colorado, so it's kind of interesting to see him here. I definitely did not expect that to happen. I think me and the rest of the football world was expecting Aaron Rodgers, and we got Russell Wilson. And not to spout disrespect on Aaron Rodgers because he's amazing, but I mean, how can you be upset about Russell Wilson? I mean, he's awesome. So after high school, both you and your brother committed to Waterloo, like you mentioned before. Why is it you chose Waterloo above other schools? And was the ability to play with your brother a deciding factor, or was there a consideration to go to separate schools?
Yeah, so no, we definitely wanted to make the decision together. We wanted to stay together throughout university. And I mean, we've always planned on trying to play professional football, so we knew we'd have to split up eventually, so we figured we might as well play together as long as possible. But a really big part of going to Waterloo was just Chris Bertoya. He was a great role model for us. Really persuasive guy. He's good at recruiting. Does his job well. And I mean, Waterloo was just a place where I really felt at home. And it was a place where Bert was going to give me a chance to play quarterback, where some other teams wanted to switch my position. And that was just a really big factor. And I knew that I was going to get a chance to play quarterback there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, obviously, as we alluded to several times, you're an amazing athlete. I mean, you run track and you play quarterback. I don't think I've ever really heard of that before prior to you. So, I mean, it's that in itself just goes to show the kind of athleticism you're bringing to a quarterback position. So it doesn't surprise me at all that anybody wanted to move your positions. But the fact that Waterloo saw what you had as a quarterback and kept you at a quarterback is going to end up making your career. And I guarantee they are certainly happy that they brought you there as a quarterback strictly. So your first season in college, you were used primarily as a backup, but still saw the field in 6 games, watching as your playing time rose later in the season. It kind of looked like they were working you into the lineup more.
Mm-hmm.
However, the stat that stuck out to me they actually credit you with a 65-yard punt. How did you end up punting the ball?
Yeah. So what happened, it was we're a pretty aggressive team, so we'd go for it a lot on third down. Um, and I was back there. I think it was probably like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and they just weren't expecting the punt. I got a pretty decent punt off, and then it just started to roll because nobody was back there to get it. And then yeah, I didn't know how far I ended up going for, but I guess it went for 65.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, that's something that like Randall Cunningham once did in his career. You know, he punted, he did a pooch punt, and I think it rolled a ridiculously like 92 yards or something
Yeah.
like that. But that was awesome to see. I was like, man, it just blows my mind everything you were able to do in college. I mean, you caught passes, you ran the ball, you threw the ball. I mean, weren't you used as a punt returner at one point as well?
I don't think I actually was a punt returner. I think the stats might have got it mixed up with Tyrell. Because
Okay.
I don't remember catching a punt at all, but I'm not gonna say it didn't happen because I don't remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly weird. I was like, man, they're risking their starting quarterback back there on punt returns.
Yeah, so I'm
That's
pretty
crazy.
sure he was he was a dynamic returner.
Yeah, okay. I remember reading that about him, so that makes perfect sense now that you say that. I mean, twins, I guess, a little
Yeah.
bit of a mistake on the stats line there. So I have zero doubt you will play quarterback at the next level. But of course, I have to ask, if you had to do it all over again and pick a different position from day one, would you still pick offense, or would you be patrolling the secondary with your brother? Would you be a punter?
So to be honest, I talk about this all the time with obviously Tyrell and even some of our teammates, but I feel like the best position to play, I don't have the build for it, obviously, but I feel like the most exciting hype position to play is defensive end. I feel like playing as defensive end would just be amazing. I mean, obviously to have the size, to be 6'4", 6'5", 250, and run a 4.5 would also be amazing. But I just feel like it's a super fun position to play. It's just you got to win your matchup, and it just like when I watch football, that's just an exciting position to me.
That's ironic. I would not have guessed you pick a pass rusher when you're a quarterback. That's awesome. That's awesome. It would be pretty interesting to see you out there as like a 3-4 outside linebacker just for fun, In year 2 of college, you took over the starting role and put up a monster season in terms of statistics. Just give our viewers an idea what you were able to do as a sophomore. You completed just under 74% of your passes, averaged 343 passing yards a game, which is nuts, and 85 yards rushing on top of all that. On your way to 3,864 yards, but the most impressive stat to me is your 34 touchdown to 2 interception ratio, meaning you averaged just under 4 total touchdowns a game, and you were able to burst on the scene so quickly in college. Did you see yourself having a season like that in just year 2 in your first year as a starter?
No, I didn't see it coming. I mean, I wasn't really focused on all the stats and everything. I didn't really think about it. I was just really focused on winning games. And then kind of when we got closer to the end of the year, people start to really hype up the stats and everything, like, oh, one of the greatest careers in U Sports history, blah blah blah, and everybody hypes it up. But I wasn't really thinking about that. I just wanted to go out there and I was just trying to win games. At the end of the day, I mean, I think a big part of it too was after my first year. Obviously, I did do a lot of running and I did passing as well. But I feel like a lot of teams were worried about my running. As versus second year, I really started to stay more in the pocket. We threw a lot more. Coaches did a really good job of getting the ball in my hands quick, which is why the 74% completion percentage. And a lot of short stuff, which really then opened up the deep stuff where we really got a lot of the yards. That's where they came from. So
Makes sense. So get the ball in your hand, the hand of the playmaker, and let him make the play.
yeah.
And that's basically how Russell Wilson has been so successful.
Yeah.
Despite the season you put up in year 2, your third year was just as impressive and showcased just how versatile you were. Despite being listed as a quarterback, we actually saw you start at quarterback while punting 3 times for like 155 yards. You caught a pass for 5 yards, and you notched career highs in rushing attempts, yards, and touchdowns, rushing for 830 yards and 8 touchdowns. However, all of that was kind of overshadowed by the fact that you were asked to not actually return punts I have been following football in about 20 years, and I've never seen anybody quite as versatile as you. Um, how did this all come about? How did you end up catching passes and running the ball so much as a quarterback?
Yeah, I don't remember lining up as a receiver or anything either. I think it was a batted ball, and I think I caught the batted ball and I ran for like 5 yards. So I'm not sure exactly how they mark it up on the paper, but that could be it. I'm not 100% sure, but I can't remember lining up as a receiver. But I mean, we were pretty creative as an offense in general, so I wouldn't put it past us.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, so let's preface this question, or let's change this question a little bit. Would you feel comfortable if you were asked to line up as a receiver?
Um, it depends. Like if it's like a play here or there, then yeah, trying to trick the defense or something. But I really want to line up obviously behind center and just pursue my career as a quarterback. So
Absolutely. So you're not looking to be a Taysom Hill type. You'd rather play quarterback?
there has been a couple teams that have talked to me about that. Obviously, I'm not saying no to that, but I'd like to have it in a certain circumstance where I am getting a chance to develop as a quarterback, as well as help the team before they think I'm actually at that level to play. So it's just having the developmental factor as a quarterback and also filling in that role to use my athletic ability. So
Oh, that makes perfect sense. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know if you follow the Eagles too closely, but in 2020 we drafted Jalen Hurts, and they kind of used him as like a sub package guy, had him run the ball quite a bit, and then eventually worked his way into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
That would be definitely something I could see being used with you in particular, because I do kind of see you going somewhere in the middle rounds, and probably not necessarily getting a starting job right out of camp, but you never know. Russell Wilson won a job out of camp as a rookie.
Yeah.
After 2 very strong seasons, you were heading into what was your 4th year of football eligibility, likely ready to build on the foundation you had built the previous years to continue your quest to the professional level. Talk to me how it affected you when you found out the 2020 season was going to be canceled entirely.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a heartbreaker because I was getting ready to go into my 4th year and then obviously headed to the draft. But yeah, it kind of just killed the whole vibe and everything. But then at the same time, I did realize that okay, now we got some extra months to get ready for the following year because I have an extra year of eligibility anyways. So it was really just trying to keep guys motivated and active throughout that cancellation. So I was, grabbing receivers here and there, going to throw, even though, we weren't technically supposed to. But getting out there to try to work on timing and everything, keep everybody motivated, let them know that, yeah, this season got canceled, but the next one's coming up and we got to be ready.
Absolutely. So just to reiterate what you just said, you were literally out there going and catching, throwing passes with receivers from your college during the canceled season. As a college student, I want to point that out because I don't think people realize that that's not a very common thing from my knowledge at the college level. I'd have never heard of a whole bunch of guys, getting together with the receivers in the off season. NFL, CFL, absolutely. But at a college level, that's pretty impressive to see that you took it upon yourself to keep your guys active and ready for the next season. All right, so you've gotten through the COVID year and you returned for your 5th year academically and 4th year of eligibility. How did you come to the conclusion that it was in your best interest to stay at school rather than leave following the off year? Was this based on advice you were given, or was it just you didn't feel your job was accomplished quite yet there?
Yeah, I feel like definitely the job wasn't accomplished was part of the factor too. But I wasn't able to graduate yet. I didn't take as many courses as I need to in the 4 years to graduate, so I need to come back for a 5th year anyways. But I was kind of preparing for that just in case of anything, and I didn't want to have too much school during football because football is really big for me and obviously my family and in my life. And I knew it was something that I wanted to pursue professionally, so I wanted to be able to put all of my effort, majority into football, and then still be able to do school at the same time.
Absolutely. So out of curiosity, did you have a 5th year of eligibility to actually play in college?
Yeah, so I actually technically have 1 year left.
Okay,
Played
gotcha.
one last year.
Makes sense. So you actually did, in fact, make the decision to leave college a little bit early.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not aware of that. I did not find that anywhere. It's your final year, and you know you need to finish the strong to garner as much recognition as you can prior to the 2022 drafts you plan to enter at this point. Playing in just 7 games, you were able to still complete over 63% of your passes, average over 250 yards passing, 12 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, adding 66 carries for 667 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, these numbers weren't quite what teams had seen in your 3rd year with the school. Given the opportunity for a mulligan in the 2021 season, do you still return to school or do you leave for the draft following the 2019 year? Which I guess we kind of have the answer to that.
Yeah, definitely gonna head out and get ready for the professional career. So,
absolutely. At your recent pro day, you were able to run 4.45 40-yard dash and a 39-inch vertical jump, which is like receiver numbers for a quarterback. How much do you think running track has helped you perform in events such as these? And do you have any long-term goals as far as your track career?
No, track. It's hard to maintain track just because. I mean, I'm about 200 pounds right now, and a lot of the guys I'm out there racing are 160 pounds, maybe 170. Not very many people 180. So it's hard to like. I'm doing pretty well right now. I think I'm ranked fifth or sixth in all of Canada right now. We got nationals coming up in 2 weeks, I think it is. But yeah, it's just hard to maintain the body weight of a track athlete and as a quarterback. Because I know teams want me to get heavier. I think some teams want me to get up to 210. So it's just going to be hard to stay at that competitive level at 210 pounds versus the 180 or 175 pounds I would drop down to if I was going to pursue track.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be taking injuries at the NFL level.
Yeah.
It would be extremely hard to pursue both being a starting quarterback and trying to run track on the side, I imagine.
Yeah.
After your pro day, speculation began to rise that you will never get the chance to play in the CFL because your performance placed you firmly in the quarterback conversation for the NFL. Have you heard these reports, and what do you make of them?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of some of them, but I mean, at the same time, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm just going to go perform at the CFL Combine this weekend, try to put on a good show for them. And then after that, kind of turns into a waiting game. And I'm going to see if I'm going to get a chance in the NFL or if I'm going to get a chance in the CFL. But it's just a waiting game. I have to keep in touch with my agent and see where it's going to go.
Absolutely. So out of curiosity, after your career, do you see any future in coaching, being that that's what your father did?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely want to get into coaching when I'm done. He did coach us, when we were from like 6 all the way to end of high school. But I think I want to coach more of a university level. Just because I'm a lot more into the X's and O's now and everything in football. Just with what my coaches have taught me, and they've been giving me the rundown of how offenses work, reading defenses, finding the holes, the spots in the defense. So I definitely think I want to coach at a higher level, though.
Makes sense. I mean, it definitely seems like you got the coach's mind and that it would be something that would fit you quite well. All right, I'm going to leave you with one last question. What is your dream scenario for the upcoming drafts? And are there any teams you look to in the league and say, I could go and start right away for them?
I haven't looked into it too much. I've just been focusing a lot on, obviously, my training, which was for the pro day and now for the national combine. I haven't looked at every single team's depth chart or everything. I mean, obviously, I follow some of the key guys that I like, obviously, like a Russell Wilson, like Kyler Murray as well, waiting to see what they do with his contract and everything. But I haven't really investigated a ton of teams and saying, I think I could go start here or start there or anything. I'm just going to kind of wait for it because I don't get to pick where I go anyways. If I get drafted, I go somewhere, or undrafted free agent. So
I definitely don't think it's going to be as an undrafted free agent, but we will see. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining me today, Trey. I'm kind of starstruck that you actually came and talked to me, man. I really appreciate it. I honestly, like I told you off camera, I think you're the future, man. And I don't say that lightly. I watched your so much of your tape before this interview that I'm just amazed at what you're able to do as a quarterback. And like I told you off camera, once again, I've always been intrigued by running quarterbacks. I mean, I'm a fan of the Eagles. I grew up watching Donovan McNabb and Mike Vick and now Jalen Hurts. And those kind of guys are just so much more exciting to watch because you never know when they're going to take off run. And, several times throughout your career when you busted 30, 40, 50 yards runs because guys just, they would go to tackle you, and the next thing they know, you're not even there. You make a move, and they look silly, quite frankly. But you have a future in, quite frankly, some league somewhere. It's going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind. But I'm just so happy that you came on with me, man. And I would really appreciate it if you would consider coming on again in the future after you get drafted, and we could catch people up with where you're landing, and hopefully somewhere in the NFL. Although either way, like I said, I think you're going to take over the league and you're going to end up in the NFL one way or another.
Thank you. And yeah, for sure. Keep in touch. We can definitely
plan on it. I appreciate everything, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
That was Tre Ford. Just an amazing athlete. I mean, I really can't stop pouring over how amazing it is to watch him play. I mean, I watched so many highlights of him, and it's literally a spitting image of Mike Vick or Lamar Jackson. You see these guys make these moves, and like I mentioned, they just make defenders look silly. 1 minute he's there, the next minute he's making a cut, and guys are just diving in midair because nobody's there anymore, and it's just amazing. With that being said, I'm going to stop speaking. I'm going to let him do the talking on the field. Here's some of his highlights. I apologize for that. I was recording highlights earlier while my baby was sitting in my lap, and as you can tell, he kind of came over the soundtrack there a little bit. I did not catch it in my editing. But moving on, I am so happy that Tre Ford joined me today. He is probably the first legitimate NFL prospect that I've had that's almost a certainty to land in the league. I've had some other guys on here that are fighting, clawing, hoping to make the league. Trey's got a lot of momentum behind him, and that's typically what happens right before somebody gets picked in the NFL draft. He was able to create that momentum himself, and I honestly believe that he's going to end up in the NFL, and I'm excited to see it. I want to see how teams are going to use him in the modern NFL, where we are not turning away from rushing quarterbacks anymore. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Please do me a favor, check out my affiliate marketing in the description below. Check out Tre Ford's highlights. I linked them in the comments. He's got so many different videos and clips out there that are worth seeing. It's definitely look him up and see what the future has in store for us when it comes to professional football. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.